Well, folks, here we are. Tell you what, we just had one hell of a weekend of NFL wildcard football. And tell you what, all I can say, it lived up to the billing.
Yep.
No ifs, ands, and buts. And I got my man Elwin Henderson, the Gilmer Mirror. He was in Raymond St. James Stadium last night. So we're gonna start with Dallas first because that's the freshest thing on our mind. But before we get that, were you on the plane with Mar, the kicker, Dallas kicker? Did they let him go back on the plane with him?
Yeah, he went back on the team plane, and I got a story to tell you about that too.
Oh, okay. Well, hold on. Man. Hey, okay. I mean, let's face it. Okay, let's talk. Let's get down to it, Elwin. Now I tell you what. Now I'm gonna do this, and then I'm coming back to it. We'll come back to it.
Hello, I'm Ken Ross with the Ken Ross Insurance Agency. There are certain things that are important in our lives: our health, our safety, and our loved ones. With over 40 years of experience, I've seen just how important insurance can be. I value the importance of being a part of my community and being there when they need me. Insurance is important everywhere, but being here in South Texas, it is absolutely essential. From flood, home, auto, and life insurance, let the Ken Ross Agency be your agency of choice.
That's right, folks. That's my man, Ken Ross, 281-235-5952. Whatever your insurance needs are, give him a call. In fact, give him a call now and tell him AD said call him. And he'll probably go like, who? No, he knows something. Tell him AD said give you a call. Elwin, let's jump into it, man, because we got a smorgasbord of games.
Yeah.
But the freshest thing on your mind, you were present at what was the atmosphere in Raymond James Stadium last night? And then let's get down to the game itself.
Well, you would have thought walking in there, almost like it feels. You and I both experience that each year. The Super Bowl, you could have sliced it with a knife like an electric line. It was buzzing in there. Those Tampa Bay fans thought, man, Brady's never lost to the Cowboys. This is Dallas. They looked horrible last week. They were yelling and everything when the Cowboys came out. Some, really mean stuff to them. And so it was an odd start, I guess you could say. But, man, I just loved it. Late third quarter, those fans started filing out. They were shaking their heads. They were booing Brady. It was actually a very enjoyable game in every aspect.
Wait a minute. You got great glee from the GOAT being brought down a notch or two? I mean, is that
great glee?
Huh?
Extremely great.
Oh. Well, I mean, tell us how you really feel, Elwin. I mean, come on.
Hey, I'm keeping it a PG show here.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. Yeah, that's right. Now, we might have some young tender ears out here because I've been told I've let off a word or two that shouldn't have come out. But anyway, we'll deal with that. Both teams 2 and out first couple of plays. Then all of a sudden, Dallas gets the ball and drive and scores. Mr. PAT. Okay, not a problem because it sort of shanked wide, and so we move it on. Like I say, you in the game, just sort of pick it up from there, and just because defensively, I think at a certain point. When they say sharks smell blood in the water?
Yes.
I think right after that score, momentum shifted.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But I wasn't really sure because you and I were texting back and forth.
Right.
And even at halftime, I was sort of going like, I'm not comfortable with this because by that time, it was like, 18-0 at halftime? and they had already blown 3 PATs,
Yes.
and I mean literally blown them.
Oh yeah.
And I kept waiting for the other shoe to fall, and so and the thing about it, Tampa Bay got because they got the kickoff and started the second half.
Yep.
And they made a first down, and then after that, it was like somebody just walked in there and just how you catch a misbehaving child,
yep.
and they sitting there like, did you eat the cookie? Well, no, but you got cookie crumbs all over your mouth. Yeah. You got everything there, and they're going like, but why did you have to lie to me? And then all of a sudden, you just and the defense just sort of grabbed him and just started waylaying on that tail. I mean, it was unreal, man. And I'll be quite candid with you. I take my hat off to Dak. Because I know everywhere, and I saw one clip on Monday night, the pregame, and Dak came in and the I mean even the announcers, I mean they were trying to be as straight up as they could, but it's almost like they were looking at Dak like, I saw how you played last week against Washington. And everybody was sort of looking at Dak like, and Dak just said, I just tuned out the noise. And everybody just kept sitting there and looking at Dak like, yeah, Dak, we know, yeah, you tuned out the noise. But he did.
He did.
He played last night. And the thing about it, and like you stated, Tom Brady was 7-0.
Yep.
And eventually, eventually the champion has to fall. But the way the champion fell, the GOAT fell last night, man, it was a combination of they knocking Brady off his spot and a combination of seeing Father Time saying, maybe you want to think about going back and taking that 10-year, $37 million contract.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you what, Mike McCarthy summed it up when he came in for his press conference, the way the game really was. You mentioned already. That Dallas defense was flying off the field. And McCarthy came in and somebody asked him, his thoughts. And he said, well, we knew we didn't play well last week. We knew that we needed to improve. We knew we would improve because we knew that's who we were. But he said, I'm going to tell you what, this defense was flying all over that field when they got off the bus. He said, I just knew we were ready. And, of course, the whole game, you mentioned the Maher missed extra points, and did he get to take the team flight back home? You know Ed Werder from ESPN.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Known Ed a long time. Well, it was funny because I was listening in my had my earbuds in, listening to Brad Sham and Babe Laufenberg call the game while I was sitting there in the press box watching it, and of course taking my notes and working on my story. And after Maher made that fifth extra point, Brad I can't remember if it was Brad or not, but I believe it was Brad, said, well, I guess now that he made the extra point and the Cowboys are getting this big blowout win, nobody from the media is going to ask about Maher missing 4 or 5 extra points. So we get into the post-game press conference, and Ed Werder said, Mike, are you concerned about Maher? He missed his first 4 extra points, then made the last one. And McCarthy was so happy and jubilant. He looked at him and just chuckled. He goes, Ed, I knew you would be the one to ask that question. And he said, well, do you have faith in the guy? He said he was 50 of 53 in extra points during the season.
Right.
He hit 3 field goals over 60 yards. Everybody has a bad night. So, yes, we've got all the confidence in the world. Does he have to get better? Of course he does, and he knows it. So then Dak comes in for his press conference. Ed Werder goes, Dak, saw the TV shot of you screaming at Maher when he came over to the sideline after missing the 3rd extra point. Have you lost faith in him? And he goes, no. This is an emotional game. I was afraid, we were going to be in trouble missing those extra points. And it was just tension of the moment. And he said, well, Werder came back in and said, well, after the game, I saw you walk up to him and hug him. What did you say? And he said, and here's where I get off the PG. I'm going to quote Dak exactly. I looked at him and said, Brett, you were in Washington last week. I played like shit. I had a good game tonight. We need you next week. You had your bad game tonight. And, you know, they move forward, and I think Maher is going to be fine. I'm not worried about that at all.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, well, we would hope so. But, you know, like I said, for when it was 18-0, I text you, and I think I'm going to just repeat. I said, I'm not feeling comfortable because when you miss 3 extra points and you kept, you know, we've all, I guess, been under the illusion of Brady's magic, Brady's everything, Brady's this, Brady that.
Yep.
And you know, 7 Super Bowls, 4 MVPs from Super Bowls. You know, Brady's gonna pull his magic. You know, I kept thinking back to the game they played when they beat the Falcons here, Super Bowl 51 here in Houston, and how they were way down and came way back and won it in overtime, first overtime Super Bowl they've ever had, and they won. And I kept thinking, but you know, Michael Parsons and the rest of them, and you know, like I say, they only had 2 sacks.
Yeah.
But the quarterback hurries and knocking Brady off his spot, man. And then where everybody have stated, you cannot let Brady stand on his spot and pat the football. If he stands on his spot and pat the football once, you're in trouble. But if he passes it twice, forget it.
That was the thing, AD, at halftime. Just exactly what you said, like you were texting me. I was talking with a number of my friends, you know, who are beat writers up in Dallas and at the facility every day. And I was like, okay, are you guys thinking what I'm thinking? And the general feeling was, oh my gosh, those 3 extra points. And it was like everybody in the press box, or I say not everybody, but a number of folks in the press box
from the Dallas area,
Brain was thinking 21-18 Tampa.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was Tom Brady and because of what has happened to the Cowboys a couple of times this season when they let games slip away because of a missed extra point, missed field goal, missed opportunities, not using a timeout and getting a chance for a field goal in that playoff game last year against the 49ers. You know, you couldn't have too comfortable a feeling knowing that you were going against the GOAT. Now, once that third quarter came out, and when it got to be 24-0, I think there was a big exhale. Yeah,
I think so too. But like I said, hats off to that. Hats off to that defense because that overall that defense there they were flying, and you know, like I said, you know, this week is going to be another test because Tampa Bay, the 49ers defense is not Tampa Bay's defense.
No, it is not. And you saw what the 49ers did to the Cowboys last season. But Dak was asked about that and said, okay, do you have a little bit of a chip on your shoulder? Did you come into this game based on the way last week went and the mistakes you made with I got to show what I can do? And he said, absolutely. And they said, well, so what about going to San Fran? You know, they're going to have 2 extra days to prepare because they played Saturday. You guys play Monday night. And he said, we remember what happened last year. You know, the Cowboys had the number 1 seed in the NFC last year, lost that playoff game to San Francisco. They should not have lost. And he said, we have had a bad taste in our mouth about that San Francisco game for a year. I honestly believe that the Cowboys are going to go to San Fran and are going to win that game. It might be a 1-point or 2-point victory, but they have a chip on their shoulder and they feel like they've got something to prove. And I really feel like they're going to come out and do it. Now, I made a ridiculously over the top of my head quote or comment rather to Tad Carter, the new Cowboys PR director, along with Scott Agolnick, who's always been really, really, really helpful, and Joe Trahan, who's always been really great to work with. I told the 3 of them before the game, I walked up to them and I said, all right, I got a prediction for you guys. We're going to beat Tampa Bay tonight. We're going to go back next week and get revenge on San Fran. The Giants are going to upset the Eagles, and we are going to host the NFC Championship game at Jerry World. And Tad and Scott and Joe, all 3 said, oh, man, we would love to have that happen. But, you know, it is now becoming more of a distinct possibility the way the Giants are playing.
Well, here's the thing. home field is not home field in the playoffs.
No.
What used to be certified home field is no longer home field. What used to be going to Green Bay, Wisconsin in the cold for a team to come out of sunny is no longer a given. I mean, these guys just going, no, we're going to play football. I can stand this for 4 hours. They got the heated benches and everything else. So that being the case, no, home field is not home field anymore. And so, it's interesting how the last 2 Super Bowls, the winners have been at home playing. And so it's sort of ironic that Tampa Bay had home with the GOAT. They won it at home. Okay, you got sent home. You got sent back home. You didn't have far to drive last night. So guess what? You're home. But anyway, let's get to the rest of these games, man. There's what I sort of went back and looked at this. You realize that the Texans played out of their 17-game schedule, 6 of these opponents are in the playoffs.
Yep.
So 6 of these opponents in the playoffs, and looking and going back and looking at, other than the last game against the Jaguars when the Texans just mailed it in, they played competitive football against just about all these guys, man.
Absolutely.
They didn't. They lost, but I mean, everybody kept waiting. It was a play here or there, and so we kept waiting, and obviously, when the last Jacksonville game, because looking at had the Chiefs and the Cowboys sort of back to back, and you looked at that and you saw the way that they played both of those games, and you just knew, okay, something is close. But be that as it may, we're looking for a new coach, we're looking for new everything. But let's get to the first game of Saturday. Probably the game to me that probably wasn't nearly as close, because everything else was close. But the Seahawks and the 49ers, and basically the 49ers dominated the Seahawks.
They did. And the bottom line, as well as I do, the Seahawks backed into the playoffs. They were not a good team. But, hey, they earned the right to go. I felt like that would be a blowout, just like it was. I felt like all the other games would be close, just like they were.
Well, like I said, that was the only one that stretched out. I think the 49ers, I mean, we Deebo Samuels, I wouldn't call him little Ed's son, McCaffrey, everything. They were just amazing. And here's the thing about it, Mr. Irrelevant, as the starting quarterback. Can you imagine the stories that's come out of that? I mean,
a Hollywood movie in itself.
Yeah, I mean, because here this guy is, he's getting a tweet from LeBron James, and he would just he say, "Oh, LeBron, oh, he said that." I mean, the kid is giddy.
Yeah,
I mean, he doesn't know any better.
He doesn't know he's not supposed to win, is what.
Yeah, nobody told him that you were the last player taken in the NFL draft. You still supposed to be standing on the sideline in street clothes instead of out here, and you winning ball games with this ball club. And let's face it, Shanahan is calling some hell of a plays. I mean, he's not putting this kid in any position that he's going to make him have to do more than what he's able to do at this point in time.
Well, I'll tell you what else I really believe, based on the way he has played these last 6 games, regardless of what happened Sunday night in the Cowboys game, this kid deserves a chance to be the 49ers starting quarterback next year. They may have, with Mr. Irrelevant, found their new franchise quarterback.
Elwin, you know what? You may not be too far from the truth on that one. I mean, it very, very well could be. I mean, this kid, from an experience standpoint, he don't know he's not supposed to be doing this.
Exactly.
I mean, he's playing with free. Some folks say he's playing with ice water in his veins. Nah, this kid is playing with Freon in his veins.
I guarantee you.
I mean, you probably take your car over there. If your air conditioner is running low, you can probably just go get a quick charge off of him, man, because he's playing with Freon in this game.
Yep.
The second game from Saturday, and I'm gonna take off on Joey Bosa, but The Chargers gave away a ball game.
Oh Lord, 27-0 lead. I'm sorry, but that's inexcusable.
And they've already, Brandon Staley has sacrificed the offensive coordinator, but I'm sitting there trying to figure out, okay, I guess they had to let somebody go. They let Joe Lombardi go, and Shane Day, who's the OC and the quarterbacks coach. But I'm sitting here going like, what about the execution on the field? Now, did the Chargers? Did the Jaguars have something to do with that? Yes,
sure they did.
They did.
But the Chargers, when they got up 27-0, got very conservative. They didn't keep their foot on the gas, but it just shocked me. I thought they were going to say we need a new head coach, and I really think that's where it should have been. And that's the way it goes. If a team doesn't want to get rid of the coach, they sacrifice a couple of assistants, and of course, we know Joe Lombardi needed to be fired. I mean, he's nobody. He's just the grandson of Vince Lombardi. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, come on. Not that y'all expect Lombardi to come walk in the sideline again. Well, he did. No, he was up in the booth.
Yeah,
but the fact of the matter remains, I'm finding, when I looked at that and saw the developments that, okay, they sacrificed Lombardi and Day, and I'm sort of going like, so Brandon Staley had to give up on somebody, and I obviously wasn't going to fire himself. And I guess
he would, and I really think they should have.
Yeah, because from a clock management, watching him for the last couple of years, and we've seen young coaches make some mind-boggling decisions, clock management, everything. And hell, we got on Bill O'Brien's behind by clock management, and he was supposedly a lot more experienced than Brandon Staley. So whatever the case might be, the Chargers are at home. They done fired a couple of coaches, and the Jacksonville Jaguars are moving on.
Well, we know from experience watching him in the national championship what Trevor Lawrence can do. I mean, the kid has got tremendous talent. And, I said early in the year, Jacksonville started out playing horribly. As you recall, they lost the second game of the year to the Texans. But
13-6, no offense at all.
But at the same time, you could see the pieces were there. You could see, as much as I don't like Doug Peterson because he was the Eagles coach.
Is this personal?
One heck of a coach.
Is this personal with you and Doug Peterson? I just want to know. Oh, okay.
We'll admit that. But the guy is one heck of an offensive mind. He's one heck of a coach. And I knew when they hired Doug Peterson, I said, that team's fixing to turn around. And he doesn't really have tremendous talent down there except for Trevor Lawrence and a couple of other pieces. Now, can they win the AFC Championship? Heavens no. They'll probably go out this week. But to make the progress they've made after the ridiculous jump they went through last year, it's amazing that team can get over that so quickly and do what they have done so far this season.
Would Peterson be your vote for Coach of the Year in the league?
As much as I despise the guy, yeah, he has to be.
Or either him or Brian Daboll with the Giants?
Yeah, both those are similar stories, obviously, because they had a horrific coach in New York. But Peterson, maybe Daboll, because Peterson came in as a known commodity.
Right.
Everybody, who the heck is Brian Daboll? Yeah, he's been in the NFL for years as assistant coach, but everybody is like, who the heck is this guy? So, I'll say this. If the Giants upset the Eagles this weekend and make it to the championship game, then yes, I think he should be Coach of the Year, just simply because he was an unknown name.
Yeah, hey, you know what? You're right. I can't really put up an argument against that. I'm just looking at the guys that have made it in here. Like I said, Peterson. When we know Peterson took a backup quarterback and won a Super Bowl with it. So I mean, so what now he has a frontline quarterback. I'm gonna tell you, it in this division, I don't know who. I don't. Hopefully, like I said, Cal. I hope y'all looking at all this because you got some teams that's on the up, and you got material. We got some pieces here. You better make the right call this time because, like, as I mentioned, this is the trifecta. You don't get this one right, you could see yourself being down for the next 3 to 5 years.
Oh yeah, yeah, and the bottom line, even if you do get this one right, there's a lot of pieces missing from the jigsaw puzzle, so to speak. And the way Jacksonville is going, they are going to do nothing but get better and better and better.
Yeah, and hopefully we don't know what the coach are going to do. The Indianapolis coach is going to do, and and ostensibly speaking, we're not too sure about the Tennessee Titans because you got Derrick Henry, but Derrick Henry is starting to show some miles on his wear and tear on him. So it's to be seen. So the Texans, you got to get it right.
Yes,
you got to get it right. Hey, Sunday, let's go. The Dolphins and the Bills.
So I think real quick before we shift.
Go ahead.
Somebody asked me in the press box yesterday after it came out that the Texans had completed their interview with Sean Payton. They said, do the Texans have any chance of getting Sean Payton? And I said, let me tell you what. Sean Payton is about Sean Payton. He is going to interview with every single team that has a head coaching position, and it's going to go to the highest bidder. I can't imagine that McNair is going to pay what it'll take to get Sean Payton. And to be quite frank with you, yeah, Payton's a heck of a coach, but I'm not sure but what he may have passed his prime because, he didn't exactly set the woods on fire the last couple of years with the Saints.
Now, here's the thing, and he came out, and when I saw his quote, it was, oh yeah, I think the Texans would be an ideal team. I sort of looked at those headlines, and I saw the one like, he just pushed his price up some more.
Exactly.
He just pushed his price up some more because now, would I give up a first-round pick or a second-round pick, although the Texans have two? Are the Texans in position with far as do they have enough do they have a track record that they can say, I'll give up I'll give up both of my ones to get this coach? Because he's not playing. Okay?
No,
he's not playing. And as far as I'm concerned, is he worth 2 first-round draft picks?
No.
I'm like you. Not only no, but hell no. I would not. No, I'm not giving. I mean, Sean. Okay, good. I mean, keep pushing up your market value. That's fine. But I wouldn't. I'm not going to give you 2 first-round draft picks or whatever the case might be. The Texans need players. They are. The cupboard is not full. They got some pieces there, but they need to come on with it. But back to the Dolphins and the Bills. Now, this whole emotional game with DeMar Hamlin, being released from the hospital, then showing up there. The Bills and Bills Mafia came out steaming, flat out steaming. Yep. But you know what? Here's the thing about teams that have that familiar tone with them. The Dolphins forgot about how cold it was, and they did not pay attention to the weather.
No.
And I think that by them being in that same division, because they were in that position a few weeks back. So as far as they were concerned, and what I found unique about the Dolphins wasn't really padded up and dressed up for the fight in the cold. I mean, you saw, they had the thermals on and they hung out from under the sleeve. But several of those guys were running around there with sleeves on. Yeah,
the Dolphins, I think, are probably the most improved team this season.
And without a doubt. And here's the thing about it: their quarterback situation is almost similar to what with the 49ers.
No,
I mean,
I don't. Better come back. Getting 3 concussions this year. I'm worried about Tua if he comes back, ending up being another one of those CTE victims down the road. And I don't want to see that happen to any more NFL players. I think Tua should say, all right, I got my money. I've had a good living. and Tua needs to hang it up because his career is not as important as his health and long-time life expectancy.
Yeah, you know what, Elwin? And the two concut. Well, he just had two that we know of, and then we actually went back into a game with another concussion that they determined later. So he's had 3
Right
in the season, and I'll be quite candid with you. I don't think it's going to take a big shot to really finish him off. I think it's going to be a freak. It's going to be a freak lick, and his head going to bounce the wrong way, and I think that's going to be it. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. I would love to see this kid have a long, productive career, but like you, hey man, it's only so much your brain can slash inside your cranium.
That's right.
And the damage it does is irreversible. I mean, they hadn't figured out a way to give you a shot to regenerate brain cells. Because if that was the case, there's a lot of stroke victims would have already done it with stroke victims. So, I just use that as an analogy. But I take my hat off. I take my hat off to the Bills, man. Tell you what, Josh Allen is going to have to be a lot more careful with the ball.
Yeah, I didn't think he had a particularly Josh Allen type game, but I'll tell you what these games showed me with Jacksonville, with the Bills, and with Cincinnati. Now we hadn't talked about that game yet, but what that showed me, I said halfway through the season, man, Cincinnati or the Bills, either one could knock off Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Right now, after what I saw this weekend, I think the Chiefs are going to be in the Super Bowl. I don't think either one of those teams will defeat them now because they've proven that there's chinks in the armor, and you know how good a coach Andy Reid is. He's going to take full advantage of what got exposed on the Bengals and the Bills both. And I just think the Chiefs are going to be the AFC representative in the big game.
Well, I mean, I don't think that's not a far-fetched. I don't think you stepped out on a limb too far on that one. I really don't. I mean, heck, after I saw Tom Brady last night try to do a Patrick Mahomes running and then doing,
Oh, I lost you, AD. If you can still hear me, I can't hear you. My screen on your end is totally black screen. Well, I guess maybe we lost AD here. Hopefully, maybe he can get back in a minute. If you guys are still hearing me, it shows I'm still live in the corner. We were discussing, of course, the Bills. I do think the Chiefs are probably the team in the AFC that's going to make it to the Super Bowl. Now, as far as the other game that we really hadn't touched on, the only other one we hadn't discussed was the Giants and Vikings. And, of course, those two teams played just 3 weeks ago in Minneapolis. And the Giants walked out of that game feeling that they should have won it. They lost it by 3, feeling they should have won it. And I have a good friend, Mike Malarkey, who is a Giants team photographer and has been for 43 seasons. And he and I talk 2 or 3 times a week. And he told me going in, "Hey, you're back now."
I'm sorry, but folks, we just had a surge, so I just had to switch. I had I'm sorry, man. We had a surge, and I had to go create another hotspot with my phone. So, hey, I'm glad I know how to jump in and grab something else real quick.
Well, I didn't know if I was still on or not. I kept talking as if I were, just in case I was.
No, we apologize. We had a temporary. We had a surge, and all of a sudden, yeah, that's okay. Right now, I got a hot spot, so we back up and rolling, folks.
All right.
Apologize for that. But go on. Where were you at? Pick up where you left off, man. I think.
Well, what I was saying is, I said when you dropped out that if everybody was still on, that I really felt like that the Chiefs were going to be the AFC representative in the Super Bowl. And I said, really, the only other game we haven't talked about was the Giants and Minnesota Vikings game. And, of course, those two teams played in Minneapolis 3 weeks ago.
Right.
Giants, I've got my good friend, and I know you've met him before, Mike Malarkey, who's
right.
photographer for the Giants for 43 seasons. He and I talk a couple times a week. Well, that's not true. Usually a couple times a day. But never thought I would become a friend of somebody like he is, but he is over the top. He makes me look normal. But anyway.
Yeah, that's saying a whole lot. That's a mouthful. You just said a mouthful.
Great guy, and I love the guy to death. But he told me after that game, he goes, we're going to get them back in Minnie, and we're going to beat them. And he told me before the game, he called me about an hour before kickoff from the Metrodome and said, well, no, not Metrodome anymore, US Bank Stadium.
Yeah.
And he said, I tell you what, we're going to win this game. He said, they don't even look like they're ready to play. Our guys are just bouncing off the wall out here. And, of course, he was right. Now, he told me, and I'm really beginning to see this, they're getting healthy now. They're getting a lot of their guys back. They're playing a lot better. Daniel Jones had the best game he's ever had as a pro over the weekend. And I just got a funny feeling. You know that old saying, it's hard to beat a team 3 times?
Yep.
The Eagles are 2-0 against the Giants. Now, yeah, they're playing the city of no brotherly love, but I do believe that the Giants have an extremely great chance of upsetting the Eagles. And, you know, obviously, we know it's down to 3 teams, but I still have to say, as much as I'd love to see the Cowboys do it, they're going to be hard pressed to get that victory. Even though I think they'll get it done, they're going to be hard pressed to get that victory in San Fran. There's no doubt in my mind San Fran is the best team in the NFC right now.
Even with Mr. Irrelevant, whatever they call him, even with this kid being a quarterback, you still think San Fran is the team to beat coming out the NFC?
I do, simply because of the fact he has every one of the pieces around him. That's why he's been so successful. He hadn't had to force anything.
No, he hasn't.
On offense, they're not missing anything on defense. They've got depth on both sides of the ball. They play extremely good special teams play. So, I think truly talent-wise, they're the most talented team left in the NFC. But you and I both know the most talented team doesn't always win it. And like Dak said last night in his post-game press conference, it doesn't matter who the best team is. It matters who plays the best on that
day. That's the way it is.
On any given Sunday.
Well, I tell you what, can the Giants take Jalen Hurts? Here's the thing. I don't know what Jalen Hurts' physical condition is.
Nobody.
And I'm gonna tell you something. If there's a gamer, this kid's a gamer.
Oh yeah.
This kid. Another person that has Freon in his vein, not ice water. He plays with Freon in his vein.
Yep.
And you know the thing about it, he has proven he's gone out of his way to prove that folks that I was the right person to, I deserve to be the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. Because let me tell you something. Philly is not an easy town to be the quarterback for.
No, it is not. It's about like New York.
Yeah. So but his demeanor, I think his demeanor fits into that city. I think Hurts' demeanor fits in that city. Now they lose the game and he didn't have subpar play. I hope he got thick skin.
Yeah.
He'll
need it.
Oh yeah, he's gonna need that plus a couple of flak jackets and everything else.
Yeah.
The Giants and the Vikings. Is Kirk Cousins overrated?
Yes.
because I guess when I'm waiting, when it's time for him to step up, he seems to step down.
Yeah, it's just like I was talking about Mike Mularkey a minute ago. He still refers to the Commanders as he calls them the Deadskins. He made the statement to me. He said, everybody's talking about how great Kirk Cousins is. Yeah, they've come from behind, but that's because the teams they were playing thought they had the game won and let up, and they were able to come back. But he said, remember, Kirk Cousins was not even that great a quarterback when he was with the Deadskins. So, and there's some truth to that. He would have good games, and then he would have absolutely horrific games.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Vikings at home. Watch another home team that lost. Again, and like I said, another home team that's in there watching their uniforms.
Yep.
Let's talk about the Sunday night slugfest, because I think they basically should have just put a ring in there and gave everybody blackjacks and just told them, okay, y'all just beat the hell out of one another and whoever left standing, because that was the type of game it was.
Yeah, and the thing about it, and that to me, that was the most disappointing thing of all about that. The officials lost control of that game. I was afraid it was going to get really, really bad.
Speaking of the officials, and we know that we know that this is these are all-star crews. It's almost like did they had they told in certain games. I'm sort of wondering, did they tell them not to call certain things or not? There was no rhyme and reason.
No.
No game this past weekend rested on the call of an official.
No, I'll say this. It looks a little bit AD. It looks a little bit, I don't want to use the word suspicious, but strange, because like you said, there's no consistency whatsoever. Now, part of that, you hit the nail on the head. It is all-star crews, so we have to remember that these guys have not worked together a single time all season long in any of the playoff games. So in that regard, I tend to be a little bit on the side of, if you're going to do all-star, why don't we do the entire all-star, the teams that graded out best instead of the officials that graded out best?
I like that instead of becoming all-stars. Well, you know what? I got a good friend of mine who, you probably met him, Gary Slaughter. He's now, I played, and that's a question I want to talk to him off to the side about.
Yeah.
Because I want to see how he feels about it, because he's worked several playoff games. In fact, he has a son now that's is a referee now in the league. And so that's a question I have a sidebar conversation with him about.
Yep.
Is rate the whole crews as opposed to the individuals grading out.
Yes.
Because that'd be something that's a nice conversation. And hopefully if he's in Glendale, we can sit down and have a cold and run this one out. Let me back up to the to the Jaguar Chargers game, because you mentioned the officials. I don't know what Joey Bosa told Sean Smith.
I don't know.
But whatever he said to Joey, if Joey could have threw something else beside that yellow flag, I think he was gonna take Joey Bosa's head off, because
I agree.
He came running behind Joey Bosa, and it's almost like Joey Bosa said the wrong word or wrong couple of words, and I was almost like, you said what? And it's almost like if he could have threw anything else.
I agree. When I saw it, I kind of thought he was talking probably about the family lineage.
Yeah. And it wasn't talking, and we weren't talking about the queen, the king, and the queen of England either.
No.
No, I don't think that was the lineage he might have been talking about. But anyway. Hey, question for you: are you going to Frisk? Are you going to San Fran? Or are you not? You don't know yet.
I am not. I wanted to, but I got to looking at flights, and it was $600 plus the hotel room, and I'm like, hey, I'm just going to have to do my part from my TV at my house.
Yeah.
And it's for Philly, if the Cowboys win and Philly wins, got the same $600 to go up there, so I can't go to Philly either. I got to hope that Dallas and the Giants both win, and that since the league takes over for the championship games, that maybe I can get approved by the league for the championship game if it's in Dallas.
AT&T Stadium, huh?
Yep.
Boy, you know what? Jerry has always. I wonder how would Jerry feel after because this was their first win since '93.
Yeah, 30 years without a road playoff win.
30 years.
30 years. But, everybody goes, oh, my God, 30 years. Troy Aikman. I said, yeah, but it's not quite as bad as it sounds because the Cowboys have had so many bad seasons in the last 30 years. Believe it or not, they hadn't won a road game in 30 years until last night, but they'd only played 8 road playoff games in the last 30
yeah,
years.
That was what to say, the devil's in the detail.
Yeah.
That was some of the substance of the detail that hadn't been fleshed out. Right. It's not like y'all been in the playoffs all for 30 consecutive years because after, Jerry probably won't admit it, and he might admit it now, but Jerry probably could have had 5 or 6 Super Bowls. He left Jimmy Johnson alone. If they egos could have, if they egos could have just made it through, but hey, it didn't.
I got to say this. Yes, Jerry has a huge ego, but what everybody tends to forget, Jimmy has got just as big an ego, and the state of Texas was not big enough for those two egos to work together. So Jerry's the owner, so he has to take a little bit more ownership. I would say it's 60% Jerry's fault and 40% Jimmy's fault.
Well, that old famous saying, and I may not do it like Jimmy, but he hadn't heard this. How about them Cowboys?
There was a lot of that last night, and the flight I was on this morning was nothing but
Cowboy fans.
It was loaded, and everybody in the airport at 3:30 in the morning was yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" I mean, it was all over that place, and you could tell those workers in the airport were not appreciative at all.
Yeah, that's okay. They'll get. I mean, you know what? I mean, you're an international city. You got to expect that coming in. All right, man. I tell you what. Let's try to do this again. We got the divisional round coming up.
Yep.
I'm not going to try to predict the divisional round. I really not. I mean, at this point, I'm just, and we know. All right, let's put it like this: the Giants will have to pay the Eagles.
Yep.
The Bills. I mean, the Jaguars have to go to the Chiefs. Correct.
Yep.
The Jaguars go to the Chiefs. And the Bengals will have to go to Buffalo. Now, of all the games that's going to draw the most interest, I think that one's going to be the one that's going to be watched very closely
because of what happened.
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
You're not going to make projections, but I will. You know me; I never shy away from a challenge. Dallas is going to beat the 49ers. The Giants are going to upset the Eagles. The Chiefs are going to have no trouble whatsoever with the Jaguars. And because of the Hamlin situation at home, the Bills Mafia is going to show up and the Bills are going to defeat the Bengals.
So if that's the case, and if it's the Chiefs and the Bills, they not going to Arrowhead according to what the schedule say?
No, they will go to Atlanta.
Okay.
sense, doesn't it?
You know what? It's not my league.
Since you brought that up, AD, I just got to say this. The original thing that had been talked about was adding an 8th team from both the AFC and the NFC in the playoffs so nobody would lose home field advantage.
Right.
Now, yes, I understand. The Bills had beaten the Chiefs earlier this year. And if the Bills had played that game and won against the Bengals, they would have had the home field advantage. But then the original idea was, well, we're going to use winning percentage on the season as opposed to how many games you played. I was wanting to see them do that. I feel like the Chiefs, no polite way to put it, are getting screwed out of home field advantage if the Bills win.
I do too. I'm just gut level candid. You know, the league, and I think, and I'm gonna be, you know what? I think the league start working around the decision because they could not figure out a way to justify making the Bengals and the Bills play other than this game coming up in the divisional round. They could not justify it because here's the one thing, and nobody's has fleshed this out. Remember when Joe Buck said that the team's gonna start warming up, and he heard this from a source. Yeah. And I'm sitting there trying to figure out. I don't think Joe Buck just let that out just like that.
My source was a call from New York to the referee, said, let's warm up in 5 minutes and get ready to go. That's totally on the league right there.
Yeah.
But I will say this. I do think when they knew Hamlin was going to survive and he started improving, I think that game should have been played.
Well, it's going to be played now. It's just not going to be played under. Instead of being played in Cincinnati, it's going to be played in Archie Park.
Yeah, and it's home where it wouldn't have been in that game.
That's true. That's true. And I'm gonna tell you something. Having experienced Bills Mafia firsthand, it's the only place I know where most folks walk around with a 12-pack. Up there, they walk around with a 36-pack. The damnedest thing I ever saw in my life was folks walk around 18-pack, whatever. They walk around with 24 and 36-pack, and I'm going like, really? And it's cold enough so you really don't have to keep it on ice anyway.
Yeah. Do they even know what's going on when the game's over, though?
No, but I saw enough tables crash. I mean, the folks, they embraced me, and I enjoyed it up there. Yeah. I had a good time up there. I would put it like this. Where they going to build a new stadium and not putting a roof on it, I think is stupid.
Yeah.
It's not my money. Because I think if they put a roof on that place, they will get a Super Bowl. Because if the Minnesota football team can bring a Super Bowl to the city of Minnesota, then they could get one in upstate Western New York. I guarantee it.
Oh yeah, they could. And of course, as you remember, when the Super Bowl was up in Minneapolis, there was 26 inches of snow on the ground game day.
Yeah.
I mean, Super Bowl without a dome.
No. I mean, the only Super Bowl that got away with it was the one in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And remember, if you remember what Max said, because we came dressed for bear. We had layers, we had it all. And then and on game day, I was stripping clothes off because I was dressed in layers. And I remember this, God rest his soul. Max say, Roger know the Lord too.
Him saying that. And I remember too, they had those blooming heat lamps just pouring heat down on top of us, and it was 56 degrees.
Yeah.
And then the day, I didn't leave until Tuesday. The next day, I woke up on Monday morning, there was 9 inches of snow falling.
Well, let me give you this little tidbit of advice. We were the last flight out. We were the last flight out at LaGuardia. We were up at we did our traditional. We were loaded by Ed Sullivan Theater. We had our traditional cigar smoke, and we caught a ride to LaGuardia about 4 o'clock that morning. And then by that time, it was, you start seeing ice pellets and everything. We made it on the plane. The plane got de-iced about 3 times before we got off.
Oh,
We got off. But what we found out, we were the last flight to actually leave, and they shut everything down.
yeah. I was lucky. By Tuesday morning, they had it all squared away, and I got back. But yeah, that was crazy the way that hit.
Hey, bro, I appreciate it, man. Hopefully the folks out there enjoyed it. This is our own little mix on. I mean, I'm not gonna sit up there and waste about a whole bunch of statistical information. But whatever the case, we'll let's do it for the divisional rounds, and we'll see what's gonna happen. But I think you picked the Cowboys. You done picked the Bills. You hope that you figure that the Giants will take out the Eagles. And the Jaguars won't have a chance against the Chiefs. I think that's what you stood. That's what you put your John Henry on.
Yep.
Okay, just to be contrarian, I don't. If the Eagles, if there is a chance, if there's a way, and you know what, I think this game's gonna rest on the Giants' front four. That front. If that Giant front can control Jalen Hurts, then I think I think you got a point there. But I want to how consistent can they be, and how consistent can Jones be? Because I thought he played out of his mind against Minnesota. So we'll see. I mean, that's to be seen. But anyway, my friend, I appreciate it. Thanks for the insights coming from Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. I'm glad you made it back in. I understood you had to get up kind of early this morning to catch the flight.
Oh, Lord, man. Yeah, what it boiled down to, I know nobody that's watching the podcast knew the details, but I booked this flight 3 weeks ago because I was almost certain we'd end up in Tampa Bay against Brady. And I felt confident we would beat him. And I wanted to be there to break the 30-year hex. But that was before they even talked about a Monday night game. I thought we'd have 3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday like we always did, and I figured we'd be the Sunday night game. So I booked myself a 5:50 a.m. flight Eastern time out of Tampa this morning. Well, by the time they announced last week when it was going to be, I looked to try to change my flight, and it was another $275. I said, well, that ain't happening. So literally, I got out of the stadium about midnight after I got my McCarthy and Prescott interviews. Drove back over with my good friend Henry Friedenberg over to the Cowboys team hotel where he had been staying, the Marriott downtown on Water Street. Then got an Uber back to my hotel, got into my hotel room at 1 o'clock, finished my story and got emailed to the paper about 2 o'clock. Went on and took a shower, cleaned up, put on my clean clothes for the day, packed my suitcase, and then called another Uber to take me to the airport. And by the time I got through security, it was 2 hours and 20 minutes till time for my flight to leave. Fortunately, I did sleep an hour and 45 minutes on the plane coming back. Got a couple extra hours sleep Sunday night and a 2-hour nap yesterday afternoon before I went to the stadium. But I got home, ate lunch, grabbed mail, and died in my massage chair for 4.5 hours. And I'm hoping after a good night's sleep tonight, I'll be back to normal.
So TSA was waiting on all you Cowboy fans to leave, huh?
Yeah.
I like the way you said that. Hey, my friend, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Always, take care, and we'll get together. We'll get together and see how your picks and everything else came out, and hopefully the other Bosa won't have to say nothing to the referee.
There you go. Well, thanks for having me, AD. As always, I've really enjoyed it and look forward to discussing the results of the divisional next week.
We'll do it, man. We'll see you. So take care. All right, folks. That's it. Yeah, I know it was a lot of games. We pumped a lot in. Hope you got some out of it. Hope you got a good laugh out of it. Hope you got anything out of it. If you didn't get some out of it, send us a comment. Remember, if you have not subscribed to the AdMax Corner YouTube channel, please do. If you have not subscribed to the Houston Roundball Review corner, please do. We appreciate it. We aim to entertain. Folks, so without further ado, I'm signing off. It's your guy, Adolphus A.D. Moore. until the divisional playoff rounds, and we'll wrap them up at the end of next week. I'm signing out. Peace, joy, and love. Hey, I'm out, and take care of somebody. Hey, tell somebody you love them and you care about it, even if you don't like them. But you know what? They still God's children. I'm out, folks.